I'm on. Perfect. Today's going to be a working session, and I want it to feel like real life, not theory. Because if we can't use it in the field, it's just trivia.
I'm ready, even though it's about to be 2 degrees with wind chill where I am.
2 degrees. That's not weather, that's a punishment. Where are you again?
Wyoming.
Wyoming makes Florida sound like a different planet. Okay, team, here's the plan. First, we're going to hear what you're working on right now. Real scenarios. What the client had, what we discovered, and what direction the solution is moving. Then we'll pivot into how to talk to business owners specifically, because that's what Jen asked, and it's a great question.
Jen, you've got one of the bigger opportunities on the board. Bring everyone up to speed.
Yeah, so we've got a business owner in his 50s. He makes good money, but it's scattered, accounts everywhere, no clear retirement strategy. And retirement isn't someday anymore, it's getting close. He's basically asking, what can I do fast, and what can I do big? The way we're structuring it, it's not one single move, it's multiple steps that build on each other. Annuity for income, participating whole life, IUL, and we're also building toward a platform where the numbers show he can blow past what he thought was even possible.
And what was his target again?
He wants about 18 grand a month in retirement income, and he wants it in 12 years.
And that's the part that gets fun, because when we actually run the system correctly, the projection doesn't land at 18, it can land much higher depending on execution and consistency.
Now let's connect the dots for everyone. When you hear business owner, you should immediately think of 2 things happening quietly in the background: taxes and stress. And what just happened recently? They wrote big tax checks. That puts them in exactly the right mood to have a better conversation.
The approach we're using here is based on repositioning income, instead of letting it automatically become the most expensive kind of income possible. For self-employed people, that means not just income tax, but self-employment tax too.
So we could use a section executive bonus concept, basically shifting money so it can become a business expense and flow into a life insurance strategy instead. The business owner still pays regular income tax, but the big win is avoiding that self-employment tax on the amount we're repositioning. And then that money grows inside the policy and becomes accessible later in a tax-advantaged way. Okay, I need to stop you there because this is exactly my question. How do we learn this? Like, really learn it. I know how to talk about a life policy or an annuity, but the way you're describing it, it feels like the stuff wealthy people have been doing that nobody ever teaches. And what changed for me was seeing the difference between just thinking about buying a life insurance policy and actually reorganizing our money so it makes sense. Especially being a business owner. And the crazy part is, they'd refinanced recently, but they'd been paying on that house for decades and felt like they were getting nowhere. So we did what we always should do. We built a complete snapshot: income, expenses, assets, debts, and then we repositioned assets instead of asking them to spend extra. So reorganizing their money so it makes sense. Watching someone finally see a path. We moved an old 401k into an income annuity to create a predictable retirement floor. Then used a HELOC strategy to restructure debt and accelerate payoff, and then built in permanent protection through an IUL on someone who had major health history and still could qualify. This is why I keep saying, stop thinking mortgage protection is about a death benefit. Most of us just want peace of mind. We all don't know a better framework exists until someone shows us. You don't know what you don't know.
Carol, you also brought in a friend yesterday. Walk us through it. Yeah, I've known him for 20 plus years. He's made money and lost money, done risky stuff, tried crypto, the whole thing. But now, he and his wife are actually in a strong spot. They have minimal debt, mortgage and one personal loan, and a decent amount sitting in cash and small retirement accounts.
The problem is, the concept is hard for him. He's locked into the mindset of, my mortgage is low interest, so why would I do anything else? And even for me, I get nervous when we start talking about borrowing against a home, even if the math works. I think he needs to start slow. Move a few accounts first, see results, then use the HELOC more strategically once the fear fades. That's a great read of the personality. Some clients are sprint clients, some are staircase clients, and the truth is, the numbers don't matter if the client can't emotionally stay with the plan. I also want to point something out. Everything we're talking about, annuities, HELOCs, policies, none of it works if the client's income stops. That's why protection comes first. Without the income, you don't fund anything, and everything collapses into survival mode.
Exactly, and that's why, in most cases, before we even get fancy, we make sure the income engine is protected, usually with term coverage size to the window of the plan. You match the protection timeline to the strategy timeline, 10 years, 12 years, 20 years, whatever their light at the end of the tunnel is.
All right, now let's get to the business owner question, which is really 2 questions. What do I say, and how do I learn the deeper stuff without trying to master the entire financial universe? Yes, the goal isn't that everyone becomes a tax attorney. The goal is that you can hear what they're saying and recognize the doorway. Seek out advice and keep learning without stagnation.
So here are a few doorways with business owners. 1. They say, my business is my retirement. Translation: they're reinvesting everything in the most expensive way possible after tax and hoping the business sells for enough later. 2. They say, my manager is like family, they'll never leave. Translation: retention risk. Or they admit the fear directly, if I lose that person, I'm in trouble. That's key person risk and golden handcuffs opportunity. 3. Partnerships. If they have a partner, you immediately ask, what happens if one of you dies or can't work? Because the business doesn't magically default to the surviving partner. Ownership follows the estate, and all of a sudden, they could be in business with someone they never planned to answer to. That leads to buy-sell planning funded by life insurance. 2 partners, each covers the other, the business pays premiums, and when death happens, the policy money funds the buyout cleanly. No chaos, no fire sale, no family conflict.
And the business can write off those premiums, right?
In many cases, yes, especially when structured correctly as a legitimate business expense. But always coordinate with their CPA because details matter in implementation. 4. They say, business is great, we're profitable. Translation: tax trap. Because profitable usually means they're bleeding money to taxes and they don't have a clean system for keeping more of what they earn.
Now let me tell you a story-driven version of what this looks like when it clicks.
Picture a business owner, good operator, works hard, brings in strong profit. On paper, he's winning. But his money is scattered. Some in a 401k from years back, some sitting in the bank, some in taxable accounts, and a big chunk just paid out to himself because he doesn't know what else to do. Then April hits. He writes a massive tax check, and he does what business owners do. He shrugs and says, that's the price of success.
That's where the tension lives. The same person who's confident running a company feels stuck running their personal system. So we step in and we don't start by selling. We start by asking better questions.
First question: how much do you actually need to live on? Not what you pay yourself, what you truly need. He realizes it's far less than he's pulling. Next question: what if we redirected the surplus into a plan the business can fund strategically, so you cut the self-employment tax drag and create tax-advantaged access later?
That's where executive bonus strategies using an IUL can come into play for the right client. You fund for the retirement window, 12 years in this case, and then design distribution in a way that supports long-term income goals.
And don't forget there's a second win, the tax savings itself. That's money the owner can reinvest too. When you save that much yearly, it's like adding another contributor to the plan.
Exactly. Sometimes the tax savings is the hidden funding source. And then we add additional pieces depending on the scenario, like moving old retirement money into an annuity to create a stable income floor, or using participating whole life for cash value storage and leverage. And if they love the concept but they're uninsurable,
then we look at alternatives. Sometimes an annuity-based deferred comp approach still lets you eliminate the self-employment tax component on redirected income. Sometimes there are other structures depending on ownership and trust planning. The point is, uninsurable doesn't automatically mean unsolvable.
Now let's get back to the original pain point. What do I say to start?
Here's the secret. You don't start with products. You start with curiosity, and you start with what they already feel.
If it's a business owner, your opening isn't, do you want an executive bonus plan? Your opening is, tell me about your business, and then you keep it open-ended. How'd you get into it? What's going well? What's the one thing that's a headache right now? Then you ask one of my favorite questions, what keeps you up at night? Because when they answer that, they basically tell you where the solution lives. Cash flow issues, tax pain, fear of losing key employees, no retirement plan, no exit plan, no benefits, partner risk. So it is not just buying life insurance, it's thinking through the qualification and strategy shifts to qualify for a program that can restructure how fast you pay off the house without increasing your monthly out-of-pocket. Would it be worth seeing what the numbers look like? All right, let's land the plane. Here's the takeaway for today.
We're not selling random products, we're building systems. Systems that make the client's money work together. Protection, liquidity, tax efficiency, retirement income, and legacy.
And the way we win isn't by talking louder. It's by asking better questions, spotting the pivot point, and offering the next step in a way that feels safe. Appreciate you all. Keep your foot on the gas. Talk soon.
See you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.